What happens when the son of the world's most notorious dictator, once shielded by unimaginable power, privilege, and prestige, finds himself hunted through the wreckage of his own broken regime? How did the man whose cruelty defined a nation lose everything in a hail of bullets and rubble? This is the devastating, true story of Uday Hussein's final hours. A story so brutal and shocking, you'll never forget it. If you want history that hits hard and reveals the secrets the world once buried, subscribe to Timeless Words and turn on notifications. Because here, truth always comes first, no matter how dark. The making of a monster. From the moment he took his first breath in Baghdad in 1964, Uday Hussein knew nothing of ordinary childhood. He was the firstborn son of Saddam Hussein, Iraq's master of terror and iron-fisted ruler, and Sajida Talfa, Saddam's cousin wife. Uday's life played out against a backdrop of gold-plated palaces, velvet carpets, and servants trained to anticipate his every whim. No one dared deny him. Yet behind the glittering marble, Uday's world was saturated with fear. He watched his father, not just as a parent but as the most feared dictator on earth. Sadism, paranoia, and absolute control seeped into every room. Saddam broke ministers like twigs and dispatched enemies with a whisper. Teachers, generals, and family members all cowered under his gaze. Uday's privilege was absolute, enforced by the threat of violence. As a child, Uday saw luxury as his birthright. But the lessons of brutality ran even deeper. He was gifted weapons as toys and saw executions up close. Every adult bowed to him. As a teen, he wielded power with barely any restraint. The rules bent only for him. Stories spread of Uday beating servants or shooting at random on the street if insulted. Even his own teachers were powerless to discipline him. That risked Saddam's rage. While Qusay, his younger brother, learned discipline and strategy under his father's watch, Uday craved chaos. His wildness became legend. He flaunted his wealth, sports cars, silk shirts, wild parties that lasted for days. His appetite for excess, women, alcohol, drugs, violence, was insatiable. Terror behind the gates. Underneath the glitz, Uday was becoming infamous. Whispered rumors told of his cruelty. Iraqi athletes spoke, often anonymously, of torture for losing games, broken bones, branding, even electric shocks. Young women were abducted for his pleasure. Rivals disappeared. The stories grew more grotesque with each passing year. When Saddam tightened control over Iraq in the late 1970s, Uday's excesses only expanded. He had bodyguards by the dozens, palaces filled with military hardware, private torture chambers. He was untouchable and unpredictable, feared even by the ruling elite. Many Iraqis believed Uday was more dangerous, and far less rational, than his father. His hunger for power, though, was matched by recklessness. Unlike Qusay, who handled intelligence and the military, Uday focused on pleasure and terror. His brutality extended to high-profile murders, including killing a trusted aide with a club at a palace party. Saddam sought to rein him in, sending Uday into exile and even punishing him for flagrant excess. But the lessons never stuck. Iraq falls, and Uday runs. By the early 2000s, Uday's world began to unravel. The US and British governments accused Saddam Hussein of stockpiling weapons of mass destruction and supporting terrorism. After years of sanctions, Iraq was struggling. The average citizen faced food and medicine shortages, while Saddam's family lived in opulence. On March 20, 2003, the invasion began. The shock and awe bombing campaign rocked Baghdad. In days, tank columns rolled through the city's shattered streets. Palaces, all symbols of Hussein-era control, were stormed and looted. Citizens who had once risked death for disrespecting the regime now stole its treasures in broad daylight. By April 9th, Baghdad fell, and the iconic statue of Saddam was dragged down by US troops. Captured live on television, the regime vanished in weeks. Uday, once a prince holding court in gold-plated cars, became Iraq's most wanted fugitive. Instead of owning the night, Uday began hiding, slinking from safe house to safe house across northern Iraq. His entourage shrank. Fear replaced privilege. Family members and old friends were now risking betrayal for a bounty. The US military wanted him on trial, and his face became infamous as the ace of hearts in the most wanted playing cards distributed to troops. Only Saddam and Qusay ranked above him. The hunt heats up. American forces fanned across the country, kicking in doors, searching villages, and interrogating anyone with a hint of insider knowledge. Locals who'd lost loved ones, athletes tortured by Uday,
and rivals all lined up to talk. The once invincible dynasty was being picked apart, piece by piece. By mid-July, intelligence pointed toward Mosul, a city known for its tribal loyalty and secrecy. Uday found refuge in a lavish villa in the Al-Falah district, owned by Nawaf al-Zaidan, a relative by marriage. It seemed secure. Tall walls, heavy gates. But someone betrayed its secret to US intelligence, chasing a $30 million reward. On July 22, 2003, American Special Forces launched their plan. Task Force 121, an elite counter-terror team, moved in with 40 infantry soldiers from the 101st Airborne Division. They encircled the villa in a tense dawn operation. A fortress turned grave. With the sun climbing, troops set up assault positions. Helicopters buzzed overhead. The Americans brought loudspeakers ordering everyone inside to surrender. Silence, then gunfire. Uday, Qusay's 14-year-old son Mustafa, and their bodyguard Abdul Samad al-Hadushi fired back from fortified positions. The US breached the front door and was sprayed by AK-47 rounds from above. The strike force pulled back, realizing they faced a siege, not a standard raid. For 3 hours, the villa became a war zone. Bullets ripping through windows, grenades tossed from the second floor, floors and walls cratered by constant blasts. Task Force 121 called in air support. Kiowa helicopters strafed the house with machine guns and rockets. More troops poured into the neighborhood. Eventually, 200 soldiers surrounded the compound. The defenders, heavily outnumbered, hopelessly outgunned, refused to budge. Mustafa, just 14, reportedly held off dozens of soldiers with his own AK-47 until killed. On the ground, heavy weaponry rolled up. Humvees armed with Mark 19 grenade launchers and tow missiles opened fire. Barrages went on for hours, transforming the villa into a smoking hulk. The defenders inside, both wounded and desperate, kept firing until the last possible second. Uday's final stand. For Uday, every moment in those hours was a bitter collapse of all he had ever known. Badly crippled from a previous assassination attempt. Dozens of bullets in his spine and leg. He fought on anyway. Despite the constant pain, he raged with defiance at the storm of firepower outside. Gold, women, power, terror, all meaningless now. The villa was battered until barely standing. The Americans decided on a final push. Tow missiles destroyed parts of the house, sending clouds of smoke and showers of debris into the air. At 1:21 p.m., assault units stormed the battered remains a third time. They swept up the stairs, killing Mustafa in a brief firefight with his AK-47. By 2 p.m., the operation ended. The building was cleared. 4 bodies extracted from the rubble. Hours after the first shots, Uday Hussein lay dead, alongside Qusay, Mustafa, and their loyal bodyguard. The end of a dynasty. The villa, once a testament to privilege, was now a scarred skeleton of its former glory. Clothing, blood-stained bedding, crushed furniture, a Pepsi can and a box of Mars bars marked the ruins where Iraq's most feared princes had fallen. US troops removed the bodies for positive identification, fingerprinting, dental records, and photographs. Confirmation came quickly. Uday was truly gone, as was Qusay. News spread instantly. For Iraqis who had been victims of Uday's sadistic power, it was the first taste of relief after decades of fear. The myth of their untouchability was shattered forever. For the world, the death sent a powerful message. Even the most privileged, brutal rulers can fall. Uday Hussein died as he had lived, surrounded by violence, unwilling to surrender. Qusay, Mustafa, and Abdul Samad shared his fate, the shadow of cruelty. Yet the story doesn't end in those ruins. Investigators unearthed countless testimonies about the cruelty Uday inflicted on untold victims. Some recounted torture chambers, executions, sadistic punishments. Athletes remembered being thrown in prison for losing games. Even within Saddam's inner circle, Uday was said to be motivelessly violent, a sadist beyond reason. His crimes, once whispered in fear, were splashed across headlines. Iraq could finally breathe, even as uncertainty lingered. The images of his corpse erased the last hope that Saddam's regime might return. Lessons for history. Uday Hussein's final hours offer brutal lessons about the dangers of unchecked power, how absolute control breeds monstrous crimes, and how even the biggest tyrants end with nothing but dust and pain. The villa at Mosul became a symbol, a place where privilege, cruelty, and defiance met unstoppable force. The horror and violence of Uday's life ended in a blaze that left the world a little less afraid, but no less haunted by the memory of what unchecked power can do. If this story gripped you, if you want more truth, unfiltered, unafraid, subscribe to Timeless Words. Turn on notifications, share this video with those who refuse to look away from history's darkest secrets, and leave a comment with what shocked you most. Because each week, Timeless Words brings the stories that change the way we see our world. Don't let these lessons be forgotten.